What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. What was your takeaway on the Dan Hurley news this morning?
Yeah, so my takeaway is I was very impressed that there were no leaks and that everybody did not know the way this was going to go. Like, you should have seen my text messages. It was hysterical. Like, everyone was asking me, like, what's he going to do? Like, what do you think is going to happen? And I would just be like, I don't know. My answer was, I thought 55-45, he stays at Connecticut. If you would have asked me the night that the story broke, I would have said 60-40 goes to the Lakers. And I thought that, like, the further along it went, the more likely it was that he would stay at UConn. But the fact that it was that close and that, like, nobody knew. Like, I talked to, I don't want to put this person on blast, like one of the premier college basketball insiders last night or this morning, your time. And he goes, yeah, I think I'd say 55-45 he goes. So A, was really impressed that, like, none of this got out, because typically it gets out in some way, shape, or form. B, I have no idea why the Lakers only offered 670 if you're going out and trying to get Danny Hurley. That's just not a good enough offer, point blank, with the way that, like, the coaching market has inflated over the course of the last 5 years, or really over the course of the last 12 months. At the end of the day, Steve Kerr is making 17. I think Greg Popovich is making like 18 or so.
Budenholzer is making 10 a year. I mean, come on.
Right. Like, if you really believe in Danny Hurley, you have to go and make it so that he's turning down, like, I'm not saying you have to offer him like 5 years, 140 or whatever it is, but, like, you probably have to offer him 5 years, 80. You probably have to offer him 16 a year. You have to give him the Monty Williams offer at least, right? So that leads me to my next question, which is, how worried were they that Danny Hurley was serious, maybe, and that they were inflating their own coaching market potentially by having that offer get out there? Saying you were willing to pay 670 for a guy that, has never won an NBA game. So, let's say it's JJ Redick. I don't know if it's going to be JJ Redick. I don't know if it's going to be JJ Redick or not.
I'm hearing Borrego noise. Are you hearing that too?
I have heard a lot of different things, to the point where my impression has been this entire time that they were undergoing a process, that there was no decision that was made, that there was no like that.
Very grown up of them.
Yeah. Like, I felt like they were undertaking a process, was the whole thing. That there was never certainty that it was going to be JJ, never certainty that it was going to be Borrego. Like, they were really trying to go down the road and explore everything that was available to them, and they never made any choices. Now, maybe that was it. Maybe they're trying to make sure that their market was not so overinflated that, they have to pay James Borrego, $9 million a year now because you offered Danny Hurley 11.6 or something. I don't know. I think if you're chasing Danny Hurley, you just have to chase him and say, like, screw it. We're going balls to the wall here, and we're trying to get the guy we want. And to me, in my opinion, I know it was $20 million more than the Connecticut offer, but 6 years, 70 million is not a good enough offer given the current market of NBA coaches.
Yeah, Colin had dropped to me last night on the show that he had heard a much lower number than the $100 million number that was getting thrown around.
Yeah.
And that was where I started to get a little bit worried, because Colin's really connected, obviously, in the LA area. And I felt the same way. My thing was, like, especially, like, in the grand scheme of the television deal that's coming around, in the grand scheme of what your luxury tax bill is, what's $15 million a year for a coach that could be a culture setter? Like, I really struggled with that. I will say that it wouldn't have been a perfect fit. I think that asking a year 22 LeBron to be held accountable by someone like Danny Hurley would have presented some challenges. I'm sure that, but I thought, especially, like, Dan's ability to create space with non-shooters on the floor, I thought that would have been a wonderful fit with Vanderbilt and Anthony Davis. I was so optimistic about it, but at the same time, like, I just had this underlying ominous, the Lakers find a way to botch stuff like this, typically, kind of thing, and that tempered any sort of overexcitement on my part.
You know what I'll say on the LeBron front, though, is, like, everybody around the league will tell you that like if LeBron like really respects the guy who's in charge and like really believes in him, he has no problem being coached hard. Like he's like totally fine with like, hey, like I mean, look, like he might not want Danny Hurley like getting his face and like F bombing him, which might have happened at some point. Like we just need to be realistic about that. But like I think LeBron gets this rap as like a coach killer, right? Like throughout his career. And I think as long as he respects the guy, and it seems like he would have been going into this relationship with like a real degree of respect for Danny Hurley, he's fine from what I know, like being able to like, take that, right? Like he'll respond to that from what I know. So, whether or not there's another coach out there on the market that would be able to coax that out of him, I don't know necessarily. But, I do think that is a bit of a misconception about LeBron. Not that you're saying that like he was, going to be a problem, but I do think that there's a little bit more to LeBron than what the current overarching philosophy is that I get in my Twitter mentions every night, unfortunately.
No, I totally agree. Well, the thing too is like it's not David Blatt. He's not coming over from Europe.
Right.
There's something, there's something about like the domestic dominance of UConn that I think would resonate.
100%. Like I had somebody ask me like, why is this different than David Blatt? David Blatt won multiple EuroLeague championships. I was like, you think 28-year-old LeBron was watching the EuroLeague like every night? Like he's definitely watching Connecticut and watching the NCAA tournament and seeing what that looks like. He's not watching EuroLeague every night. He's not staying up until 2 a.m. in the morning to watch like Oswell versus Red Star. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, it's interesting. Look, I mean, shout out Danny Hurley saying it. Connecticut, stay where you're happy. I'm a big proponent. I live in Melbourne, Australia because be where you're happy, at the end of the day. That's it. So I respect Danny Hurley's choice in that respect.
I'm just sad because I thought he could have turned that organization around. All right, that's all we have time for today. Sam, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on. I need to call you soon so that we can catch up. And then we also need to take more time to talk more this summer on the show. I'm sure we'll find some time to do that. I'm hoping to see you out at Summer League as well. Before we get you out of here, can you shout out what you're working on your end?
So NBA Draft Guide, I wrote far too many words for the NBA Draft Guide. It's going to be over 150,000 words on 75 draft prospects this year. That will be up next week at some point over at The Athletic. And then go to the Game Theory podcast over on YouTube, over on whatever podcasting platform you use, and you'll be able to kind of hang out with us every, second night whenever we go live.
That's a perfect excuse to get you back on because I don't pay any attention to the draft until after the NBA Finals. So maybe we'll get you on at that point.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that is all we have for today. As always, we sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting the show. I will be back with Colin Cowherd on Wednesday night after the final buzzer of Game 3. I will see you guys then.